Hello, travelers and tourists. My name is Mark, and I am the local disaster tour guide. That's right. I am a storyteller that's trying to persuade you to start arguments about religion for fun at your gaming table. What could possibly go wrong? Welcome to a journey through the fantastic world of TTRPGs like Pathfinder and Starfinder, and welcome to a discussion of Alternate Domains and Splinter Faiths in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Alternate Domains and Splinter Faiths are a set of extended mechanical rules that apply to religious classes such as clerics and champions and other classes like that were originally introduced in Lost Omens Gods and Magic and have been reproduced in the new book Lost Omens Divine Mysteries. Now, the specific rules for alternate domains and splinter faiths can be found on page 9 of Lost Omens Divine Mysteries, and these rules build on top of the domain rules that clerics and other religious classes potentially might use. So today, we're going to talk about what alternate domains are, how to use them, and how they might influence your character inside of a game of Pathfinder 2e. By the way, for those of you who are unaware, last week I fell on some ice and injured my arm, so for about the next month and a half, probably through about the end of February, I am going to be doing some alternate style videos because I just don't have the capacity to edit videos right now. So I do apologize for the temporary change in format, but hopefully at the end of next month things will be back to normal for this channel. In any case, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can check out my free Discord and my Patreon. I'll try to have links for those in the video description. And of course, as always, I would love for you to jump down to the comments section and be a part of the conversation. I love to hear your thoughts, your ideas, and if you've had the opportunity to play a cleric or other class that makes use of these variant rules, I would love to hear that story down in the comments section. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started. Now, alternate domains and splinter faiths as a mechanical variant build on top of the domain rules in Pathfinder 2e, so in order to discuss them, we do need to understand what domains are and what they represent. In short, domains are a list of 4 mechanical options that are made available to servants of a particular deity, and they represent areas of concern for that deity. So, for example, Aristil, the god of family and farming, has access to the family and earth domains, and if you are a cleric who happens to serve Aristil, or a champion or oracle or other similar class that has these options, you can potentially gain access to the family or earth domain, representing that your character is a particularly important servant that is pursuing this area of interest for their deity. Domains are a very powerful way of differentiating what the different deities in a setting are doing, and it's also a way of differentiating what different characters inside of a faith might be focusing on. So, for example, using Aristil, a cleric that has the family domain and a cleric that has the earth domain, while they both may serve Aristil, are very likely to serve him in different ways because of the focus of the powers that they have been granted. So that's kind of the basics. Every deity has a list of things they care about. This is boiled down into 4 domains that their servants can potentially access, and domains ultimately grant potentially up to 2 different focus spells relevant to that area of interest. So, let's talk about alternate domains. What are alternate domains and how can you use them? Well, simply put, because deities are so powerful and because their concerns can stretch so far, sometimes the idea of narrowing a deity's focus down to just 4 options can be a little bit difficult and in some cases even nonsensical. And to that effect, Paizo has included the idea of alternate domains as essentially additional areas of interest that a deity may have and that their followers may be able to also pursue. So, for example, using Aristil, in Lost Omens Divine Mysteries, Aristil has his 4 base domains that are normally part of the options for his servants, but he also has access to the alternate domain of duty, and any cleric that serves Aristil can potentially gain access to that through the use of the expanded domain initiate feat that is found in Lost Omens Divine Mystery. Now, expanded domain initiate is a 4th level cleric feat, and it essentially works like your normal domain initiate feat in that when you take this feat, you get the first domain focus spell associated with that particular alternative domain. So, expanded domain initiate is not too difficult to understand. It's essentially just a slightly higher level version of the normal domain initiate feat that a cleric might take normally at first level. But what about Splinter Faiths? Now, this is where things have the chance to get really interesting because Paizo introduces the concept that your character may be a servant of a deity, but may fall outside of the normal sphere of that deity's church or the normal sort of expectations of what a servant of that deity might do. And essentially what a Splinter Faith is an opportunity for you to write a slightly different version of a cleric that follows that particular deity. Now, the feat that allows you to do this is called Splinter Faith. Again, it's found on page 9 of Lost Omens Divine Mysteries. And what you do when you take this feat is you sit down with your GM and you actually write out what your new Splinter Faith is going to be. Now, you cannot openly break any of the normal tenets of your faith. So, if you are a follower of Aristil, you're not going to suddenly hate your family. That's not going to work. But you get to write out what your Splinter Faith believes, what their edicts and anathema happen to be, and you get to select 4 domains that your particular branch of the faith uses in place of the normal domains that that deity would offer. And the way you build this list is very specific. You get to pick from your deity's normal 4 domains, any alternate domains that your deity has access to, and then exactly 1 domain that is not normally part of that deity's normal list or sphere of influence. So, for example, Aristil doesn't really have anything to do with the sun. However, it is feasible that the sun is very important to farming, so maybe you are part of a Splinter Faith that holds special reverence for the sun as part of their worship of Aristil. That would be very abnormal for the Golarian setting, but it doesn't necessarily run against what Aristil would normally teach. So you could take the Splinter Faith feat and set up a list of domains that includes family, earth, the duty domain that we mentioned as an alternate before, and then maybe the sun or fire domain as well. You essentially get to set an alternate list of mechanical options that you can take as a cleric of Aristil and kind of create a unique character inside of the setting that way. Now, before I go much farther on these topics, one thing I want to state is both of these feats, Expanded Domain Initiate and Splinter Faith, the book specifically notes that with Game Master permission, any class that could gain access to domains, so for example champions, could potentially take these as well if the Game Master felt it was appropriate. So while they're specifically listed as cleric options, other classes that can use domains could potentially take them as well with GM approval. The cool thing about both of these feats is the fact that it allows you to come up with your own interpretation of what a faith might look like inside of Golarion, opening up a lot of story potential. The line between what is normal inside of faith and what is abnormal inside of faith, and what it means to be a faithful servant of a deity, is something that you can really play around with these feats, and it opens up a lot of interesting role playing options outside the normal mechanical benefits. I think that these feats represent some good storytelling potential, and if you are interested in playing a cleric or other servant of the divine, but you're looking for some additional story hooks, I think these feats are worth considering. Now, there are a couple of things worth noting here. With Splinter Faith, if you take this feat, any domain that is not normally a part of your deity's primary list of domains, the power level of those domain spells is going to be slightly weaker as you level up. So in the example of a cleric of Aristil using a sun or fire domain, their associated focus spells would heighten slower than normal domains would for a servant of Aristil. That's the price you pay for stepping outside the typical bounds of what your church would teach. You can still use the powers, but they're not going to scale as fast as normal. But if you're willing to take that hit on the power scaling, it does open a lot of flexibility and does introduce new character concepts, and I think that could be a lot of fun. Another thing worth noting, especially in regards to Splinter Faith, is it is a first level cleric feat, but clerics are a class that don't get a first level class feat, meaning if you want to take Splinter Faith, you normally would have to take it at a higher level. Now, with that comes the issue of retraining that is mentioned in Lost Omens Divine Mysteries, but I do think there are a couple of ways you could get around this. One way of getting around this would just be to talk to your GM and essentially roleplay your character a certain way starting from first level, and then when you get high enough level that you can take a class feat and pick up Splinter Faith, okay, you've already been following the rules, you don't have to retrain. Another option is the different doctrines for the cleric do allow you, or do give you, some starting first level class feats. The cloistered cleric gets domain initiate, and the war priest gets deadly simplicity. So you could possibly talk to your storyteller and ask them if it would be okay to switch out your first level feat. The cloistered cleric could lose domain initiate and pick up Splinter Faith instead, and the first level war priest could take Splinter Faith instead of deadly simplicity. Personally, as a storyteller, I would be fine with that. Splinter Faith is a bit weaker. It doesn't actually give you a specific mechanical option. It just allows you to take that option at a later date. So from that perspective, it's kind of a little bit of a power down, at least initially. So as a storyteller, it wouldn't bother me, but that is something you would have to broach to your storyteller to see if they were okay with. Otherwise, if you wait until you're high enough level to take this feat, there will be a period of retraining as your character undergoes a bit of a religious mind shift in adapting their new philosophy. Still, I really do like both of these feats. I think they are interesting options. I think they allow you to explore some interesting characters. And if you've played some divine characters before, but you're looking for a new take on divine characters, both Splinter Faith and Expanded Domain Initiate offer a way to explore divine characters in a new facet, and that's something I think is pretty cool. But the time has come to turn the conversation over to you. What do you think about these options from Lost Omens Divine Mysteries, and have you ever played a character who used an alternate domain, or have you ever played a character who was part of a Splinter Faith? If so, what was that like? Jump down to the comment section and let me know. And as always, be sure to share your thoughts about what kind of characters you might enjoy that could fall under these ideas as well. As always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. Have a wonderful day.